What's up, brother?
Nothing much. So we are here today with Mr. Bobby Burrelli, who was my Lyft driver the other day, and we had a great conversation. And it sparked something. We've been trying to get more people from film, like on the show, that aren't huge name actors or Robert Downey Jr.'s. Not that we could get Robert anyway, but more people that are in film. So we had a really fun conversation. So I thought it'd be cool to have you on, man.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
Of course.
This is really cool.
So maybe you could talk to people, tell people maybe like kind of what you told me, what your background is, what you've done, where you've been from, because you told me you lived in LA.
Yeah.
So what was that experience like?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, sure. My background. So very long story short, I just, been acting since I was 14. My dad pushed me into theater at 14. Did a few plays when I was a teenager. And then, 18 came around and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, and my grandfather and my dad were both in SAG and they both used to act. So my grandfather just said, why don't you just, pursue an acting career? You've always been good at that. So I said, I don't know. As soon as he said that, I said, screw it. Something just clicked in my head. I said, why not?
Yeah.
And my grandfather personally, he's always been a big inspiration to me. He's kind of been the kind of guy who, he's a big thinker and he kind of inspires everybody else in the family.
Mm-hmm.
So when he said it, it could just kind of made me believe I could do it. So when I was,
were you from?
Go for it.
No, were you born in Boston and then?
Yeah, so I'm from here. I'm from Bridgewater and Plymouth, Massachusetts. I went between both towns as a kid, but I was actually born in England. I came here when I was almost 3 years old. My dad was getting his PhD in Cambridge at Cambridge University. Yeah,
my man.
Yeah,
my man.
Dude, my story is a weird one.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're now in Massachusetts. You decide to pursue film.
Yeah. Well, so yeah. So then when I was 22, I moved out to Los Angeles to pursue an acting career. And when I got out there, I had realized that it wasn't the Hollywood that I thought I was going into. I realized that everything had been changed by social media.
Yeah.
And now people more so were starting to produce their own content more so than just pursuing an acting career in the traditional sense where you take acting classes, you get headshots, then you get a good agent, a boutique agent, then you start auditioning and moving up the ladder and forming relationships with casting directors and directors and producers and blah, 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 whatever. I mean, that still is alive, but not as alive as it used to be.
Right.
And now it's more so people doing their own stuff with their phones and with DSLRs and buying, resources are more readily available for everybody now. So when I got there, everybody was doing their own stuff. And especially when 2016 rolled around.
Even in LA, I remember when Vine first came around.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And there was in LA, there was a literal neighborhood of Vine, and that's where Logan and Jake Paul come from.
Yeah.
That's how they got famous.
Yeah,
and look where they are now. I mean, good for them.
Yeah.
I respect Logan a little bit more than Jake. I think Jake's a clown. But like you can't knock it. You can't knock where he is at this point. But that Vine changed everything. As far as who is a professional and who wasn't, right?
Yep.
So, that's when everything really, like the readily available equipment changed the whole game.
Yes.
I mean, so you walked into Hollywood and saw something different.
Totally. Yeah. And I was a little bit disillusioned, because I think that nowadays it's a little bit harder to pursue a career in this and it's a little bit easier at the same time. There's pros and cons now. But so with all that said, though, I always knew that I'd be producing my own content at some point in the future, maybe once I was established and I had a lot of money in the bank and, I had a little bit of clout, in that world of entertainment. But seeing everybody doing their own stuff, and there were Viners, there were YouTubers, people had their own followings. My buddy Taylor and I said, we got to start doing this stuff ourselves. Yeah. So we started on YouTube. We started a little web series called The Adventures of Bobby and Taylor. It was the first thing we had ever done. We invested a couple $1,000 in our own equipment. We bought a DSLR. We bought some lights, some softbox lighting, just basic stuff.
Yep.
And that's how we kind of just became filmmakers right then and there. We kind of fell into it. We never went to school. We just trial and error. We taught ourselves. We made a lot of mistakes in the beginning and we came a long way. And that was about 5 years ago. And and I've done quite a bit since then.
Yeah.
And I'm confident to say I've learned quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think part of the problem with so things like TikTok, things like Vine, those specific platforms where you go on and everyone is a professional, everyone is a professional TikTok or professional Vine, and they're very small videos, right? Some of them are good. Some of them, like the production value, you're like, wow, that's crazy. But then some of them are just like, basic stuff. And somehow the industry has changed where those people, I mean, last night the YouTube versus TikTok boxing match happened. There's guys from TikTok with 10.4 million followers who are famous now, and people would rather do that than go into actual theater, go into film, go to film school, be in take the time and become a professional. Everything is instant gratification,
right?
Everyone wants to be famous now, doesn't want to wait till later,
right?
So I don't know, Hollywood is very different now. And you said it best, right?
Oh my gosh,
it's very saturated. And
from what I could see, from somebody who's looking at it from the outside in,
right.
I never actually made any serious connections with anybody in the industry, but it's just somebody who's looking at it from the outside in.
Yeah,
pretty
well,
much.
I mean, I've talked to many agents.
Sure.
I've talked to managers, public relations teams, a lot of people, recruiting actors to come on the show, and if you don't have 1 million subscribers,
I know.
If you don't have, luckily we've been pretty graced with and lucky with that kind of stuff, and we've gotten some names and had people vouch for us and that kind of stuff. But if you don't have, it's like, if no one will give you a chance if you don't have this many,
right? And
then you can never get to that many because no one will give you a chance,
right?
So it's so hard. It's
very hard.
So the pro is that everyone can do it,
right? The
con is that everyone can do it,
right? And that's why I always say, this is what I realized when I moved to Los Angeles, is that I realize that it now has made it harder for any one person to make it. So it kind of sucks. It kind of is too bad for people who are really talented, and they're kind of just now lumped in with the ocean of the internet now, the ocean of social media. So people who are truly great, it's hard for them to be seen because they're thrown in with the endless blizzard of videos that are being made. And I think it's also great, though, at the same time, that everybody has this ability to be able to get information out there. I think it's good because now we're able to hear everybody's side. We're also able to get information other than just the mainstream media.
Yeah,
and that's a huge pro.
Right.
I'm thankful for that. But you said it well.
Do you like now? What's your like niche? Like what kind of stuff do you like to make?
Right. So that's a long story too, but just to abridge it. So for years, I've been doing nothing but comedy, nothing but just pure sketch comedy.
Yeah.
Just very Jim Carrey-esque, SNL-esque. The first, so let's see. Yeah, so I've done 7 short films before I got into a long web series, and then I produced a feature. I did 7 short films, and I think 6 of them were just pure sketch, and we took them to festivals, and so just pure comedy.
Right.
Yeah.
Comedy is one of those ones, though. It's if you're good, someone will find you.
Yeah.
Because comedy, it's like it's one thing to be funny. It's another to know how to present it.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
I had a comedian on for a month ago or something, and during the pandemic, he was doing free live shows in Boston Common, in Columbus Square, Faneuil Hall, and he's performed on stage. He's performed in LA, and during the pandemic, he had to adapt. And a lot of people did. Now, stand-up's a little bit different than like sketch comedy.
Yeah.
But it's all about knowing how to adapt. And with social media and comedy, if you can find a way to adapt to these platforms like Instagram, YouTube, you can do well. Comedy is one of those ones, like, if you're funny, people are gonna like it.
Yes.
You know, if you
Right.
got that spark, you got that spark.
Yep.
Something like what we do is talk about pop culture.
Yeah.
A little bit different.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So it's a little different, but that's cool. Do you think Hollywood is, do you think the Hollywood's always been political in a sense?
Mm.
Do you think it's becoming too much of a, because we've been talking about this a lot lately, how like even today they announced that they're going to do a Scooby-Doo show.
Oh,
Check this out. It's just Velma.
Yeah.
No Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
No Mystery Machine. And they're changing Velma to Middle Eastern or something like that.
Geez.
East Asian. So
yeah.
Everything about the character, throw it. Oh, we're going to make a Scooby-Doo show. Hold the Scooby-Doo.
Right.
Get Velma, and we have to be PC about it.
Right.
At
that point, just make a new show.
Yeah, that's what everyone's saying. Be
original. Forget about Scooby-Doo. Then fine. You want to cast a Middle Eastern woman? That's cool. Just make a new show. Like maybe they're doing that because they already know the Scooby-Doo has a following and blah blah blah. But it's like
the IP.
Exactly.
It's the IP.
But I mean, I would assume that it's Hollywood and they have the means to production. They have the studios. They're directly connected to the theaters and the distributors. They don't even necessarily have to. I don't think they would have to make a show that has a huge following. They could just make a new show, and I'm sure that they'd eat it up, just like everything gets eaten up on Netflix. Yep. People watch all this. But anyway, yeah, you were going to ask me what I think about.
Do you think it's becoming, because there used to be a divide, not a divide, but a separation between politics and the rest of the world.
Yes.
Now the line's becoming very, very blurred. And do you think that's going to be a progressing problem?
Right. So what you mean by, just so I know what your question is exactly. So you said that once upon a time, you had politics and then you had the rest of the world, kind of like you had anything, like you had sports and then you had the rest of the world. And it wasn't, it didn't kind of
there were
get its fingers into everything. Is that what you mean?
Because there were people like, Jordan in sports. There were a couple people in sports that, they were so big that like their political agendas were just, they were there because they were so big.
Sure.
There were people in Hollywood that were so big that their political agendas shined a little bit brighter.
Right.
But for the most part, there was a separation.
I see.
Maybe not in the content, because I mean, there's political themes in Hollywood films, but now everyone needs for their side, for their political party, everyone speaking out. And in the lines, it just politics is in everything now.
Yeah. So my answer to that is yes. I think it's a huge problem. I think it's ridiculous. I just
like think about how many Hollywood actors, how many sports people or athletes, when Trump was in office, came out and were against it. Like you wouldn't, that 20 years ago, that doesn't happen.
No.
Well, yeah. People like who they like, but they're not necessarily like super vocal, like in their work about it.
Right.
So, and the cancel culture is another thing,
oh my gosh,
that's affecting Hollywood in a negative light.
It's affecting everything.
Right.
I mean,
so
absolutely. It is a problem. I believe it is totally.
Do we need, do we turn back or do we never turn back from it?
Are you saying like, do you think we're gonna recover from it?
I guess the question would be, will people say enough is enough ever?
I'd like to think so. I think that you're already starting to see huge pushback against it. I mean, you're seeing a huge pushback against cancel culture. That's what our film is about, essentially.
Yeah.
I think that people are starting to wake up to this kind of dialectic, if you will. That the left and the right, people are starting to see that it's more than just left and right, and that we have a First Amendment for a reason. We should be able to talk, and I think that that's also how you do truly progress as a society is to talk. People need to be allowed to talk, and Joe Rogan actually once said is that that's how you defeat bad speech, by better speech. Yes. People need to be talking. They have to. If we're not talking, then we're going to stay divided and we're never going to truly progress as a people. So I think that people are waking up to it.
Okay.
And it will get better.
Yeah. And there's a reason I bring it in is because like that is also now, because say you're an aspiring filmmaker, actor, whatever, and you don't believe the right thing. you're dead in the water, homie. You're not
Welcome-
going anywhere.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, you are
Yeah.
not going anywhere because you believe, because basically, I hate to say it, but you're on the, not you,
Yeah.
but if you're on the right side of the spectrum,
Yeah.
chances are Hollywood's not going to take you.
Yeah,
they're not gonna be embrace you at least.
Well, the right wingers have been deemed as the boogeyman.
Yeah,
The boogeyman right
Gina
now.
Carano.
Oh
Even
my
though
gosh, yeah.
her case is a little bit, but people don't realize that she got into politics when Trump got into office.
Yeah.
Before that, she never cared for it. She never voted until Trump. And then, like she was very adolescent in what her knowledge but then she ended up getting canceled, and now she's working with Ben Shapiro.
I heard.
Films.
Yep. I heard,
So,
yep.
I mean, good for her, but also like cancel culture is really dangerous.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, once again, it's our First Amendment. I mean, we should be able to be free to say whatever we want, so long as we're not inciting violence.
Yes.
You just can't threaten people like that. It's kind of like an indirect way to threaten people. It's illegal to hurt somebody if they say something, that you don't agree with. Okay, so then how about we just do it another way? Let's go for their income. Let's go for their livelihood. Let's go for their reputation. It's just wrong, man.
Yeah.
It's but like I said, I think people are waking up to it.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Because it's gotten really bleak and dark and like this pandemic has really done some things to people's psyche and mental health, and we're stuck inside for a year, and I feel like tensions are just like building to like this ultimate breaking point. And
Right.
hopefully we can get some sense of normalcy back this summer. I think I was telling you the other day is like analysts and stuff are like, oh, we might go into like a roaring 20s setting.
Hope so.
Where everyone's happy. That would be so cool if everyone could just get along.
Yeah.
Right? That
I know.
So awesome.
I've seen a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your aspirations, man?
Oh man.
What are your aspirations? Like what do you want to what do you want to be? Like where do you want to get to?
Well, there actually is no cap to that. There's all sorts of things that I want to do, but I guess I can answer that question by saying my true love is making great films.
Yeah.
And I want to make great films that everybody can enjoy, that everybody can learn from, that can inspire people. Get back to films that have themes and principles that are kind of that we can all relate to. Get back to telling great stories that that bring us all together and inspire. That's my true love. But I also want to do other things too. I mean, with the money that I make, I have all sorts of ideas. Been thinking about someday maybe I want to found a conservatory chain. That I've given some thought to it, but I kind of want to make it so that American citizens kind of have kind of first dibs.
Okay.
I think that right now Americans they lose a lot of jobs to Aussies and Brits, and unfortunately it's because Americans are not as classically trained as Aussies and Brits.
Yeah.
A lot of casting directors will tell you that. I read that in Howard Fine's book. Actually, he's a pretty notable teacher out in Hollywood. He said something to that effect. I'm not quoting him.
There are a lot of you can see that in Hollywood. There are a lot of Australian actors.
Oh yeah,
Chris Hemsworth.
So many.
So there are so many, and then same goes for like British. Like you even got like Tom Hiddleston. Like the list I could literally for British especially.
Right.
It goes on and on and on, and like great for them.
Right.
But,
yeah. I mean, I care about my countrymen though.
Yeah, exactly. I do respect that.
So
Martin Scorsese has said, and I'm interested, as you can see, right? I'm very into like the superhero genre. But Martin Scorsese said that it's killing cinema. And
Coppola said something a little bit more abrasive, which I agree with.
I mean, it's looking.
I said it,
and that's okay. That's okay. I love the difference. I love because I grew up reading the stuff. I like that the Marvel Cinematic Universe exists. I like that these properties are doing well, but it seems like they're almost going to kill the theaters because they're the only ones that are going to make it to theaters. These big blockbusters.
There's a place for it.
Yeah.
I guess and once again, this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
Who the heck am I just my opinion. But my opinion is that there's a place for it. You know, these films are cool. They're fun.
Yeah.
But there's a place for it. And I think that it's just, in my personal opinion, oh man, it's gone really far. You know, I mean, look, dude, Hollywood is a money making machine. They make crazy profits. I mean, if that's all I was really into, was making huge amounts of money, then I would probably do the same thing, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of sad looking at it from a auteur, you know,
Perspective.
from an auteur's perspective. Yeah, just
because these, so basically what like Scorsese said, and what did you say? Coppola
well, this is what I heard,
Okay.
and I don't know if it's true,
Okay.
but a friend of mine
Okay.
who is a cinephile, he loves movies,
Okay.
absolutely loves movies. He loves reading about directors. I think he said Coppola said something to the effect of it's like despicable or something like that, because you know, they're like big amusement park factory churned out movies, and they're fun, and there's a place for it, and I don't hate them. I just I just wish that we could get back to that really gritty, you know, kind of homemade feel where it comes from a director's brain, a writer's mind, and they make a film. You look at a movie like Pulp Fiction, it was just, you could just tell it was from somebody's mind. It didn't just come from a boardroom of writers. And look, I don't know everything in the world.
Look,
I mean, it comes from a comic book.
You think about it like that, though. The directors, they're just adapting, and there's some sort of skill to that, of course.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
To take a comic book, adapt it into a screenplay,
yes,
and then, you know, subsequently film that.
Oh,
right?
without a doubt.
There's some skill to that.
Yeah.
But you're also, half the battle's already done for you. The story's written. So you're ahead of the game. I do agree with you in the sense that something like the original, the original idea, everything's a reboot, everything's a sequel, nothing is original in movies these days.
Right.
And then you get these like glimpses of it with Tarantino,
right,
with Scorsese.
Sure.
You know, movies like Arrival, for me, Arrival was one of my favorite films that has come out in recent time. That hasn't been based on some, you know, some comic book or something.
Yep.
It was based on a novel, but it was an original idea for film. You get these movies from those directors, those types, Christopher Nolan's. Nolan can be hit or miss for some people, but I really enjoy his films. And but the indie film is going to take a hit with all these, because they'll never get to be in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, and once again, this is starting to get into a world I'm still learning about, and I've thought about it so much, and it's made me realize how much I don't really know. I mean, it's a deeper rabbit hole, you know, than we can just get into this podcast. But I mean, essentially, I mean, these studios that churn out these factory made productions are giant corporations.
Yeah.
And they churn it out, and it's hard. It's hard for a brilliant young filmmaker or a writer, or someone who has just these awesome original ideas, you know, that people who really have the ears and the appetite for something homegrown and unique.
Agreed.
It's hard for those people to make it now.
Yeah.
And,
because they're not making, because people, you know what people want these days? Remember we talked about instant gratification? Superhero movies, in a sense, are that, right? Explosions, action sequences, big VFX sequences, all those things, right? It's all instantly gratifying to oh, it's so beautiful. But you know what else is beautiful? A romantic comedy, a comedy, you know, these drama thrillers, right? Or just straight dramas. Those movies are beautiful as well. And we've lost something in society if because those movies, yeah, cool, they'll go to like streaming services, and you won't get to see them the way because everyone makes a film to be on the big screen. They don't make it to be on just a TV. That's what made for TV movies back at Lifetime, where like I would make a movie for it to be on the big screen, not to be streamed. You want it to be theatrically released. That's like part of the glory, like the big silver screen.
It's the process.
I made it.
Yeah, it's the experience. Yeah. Right.
So
exactly.
I'm afraid that because we partner with one of the 5th largest theaters in the world. right? With Showcase Cinemas.
Mm.
And we do tentpole films. There's a reason we only do those.
Mm.
Because they're not going to send us out to do The Notebook.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to send us out to do The Irishman,
Mm.
even though that was a Netflix movie, but you know what I mean?
Right.
We're doing movies like Black Widow, like Mortal Kombat,
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, as you can see. So all these posters right here are so these are the most recent movies that we've done or we're doing.
Mm.
Black Widow being the next one.
Mm.
And what's the common theme out of all those?
Marvel.
Superhero or action, like because Mortal Kombat
Wonder
is based
Woman's
on
DC, right?
Wonder Woman's DC.
Yeah.
King Kong, but they're all Warner Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Except Black Widow.
Okay.
So they're all Warner Brothers made, or they're all adapted from a video game.
Yeah.
So
just have a monster following.
And they're these big IPs.
Years. Yeah, right.
Right? They're these huge IPs.
Right.
It's like people have lost their sense of creativity, adventure, their lust for that.
Well, if I could say something, so once again, and I won't get too deep into this because once again, there's only so much we can do in this podcast, but I've been thinking about this. Why are we here? How did we get here? Right. A theory of mine is that it could be an issue of consciousness. So, if you take a kid, you raise a kid, let's just say, quote, because what is the exact right way to raise a kid? But let's just quote, you raise him or her correctly, right? Yeah. You teach them to think with their own mind. You teach them to be an independent person. You teach them, you get them involved in literature, and you have them read good novels, and you have them watch good cinema, and you have them, you kind of educate them in kind of like a well-rounded fashion. And a lot of kids, especially in America, I'd say, unfortunately, going through the public school system are not receiving that kind of education. So as they grow up, unfortunately, some of them might not even know what good art, if we could call it that, what good art is, what good food is, what's a good book, what's a good painting, just because somebody does something and they get a participation trophy.
Yeah.
Participation trophy. I mean, we got to get that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. If people could be a little bit more conscious, and like, so for instance, I'll just take myself as an example. Okay. There's a place for, Godzilla versus King Kong. It's entertaining. It's fine. I'll watch it every so often, but I'm not really, yearning to watch it. I'm constantly scouring Netflix, every week, trying to find something that appeals to me. And it's getting harder and harder nowadays, because it's definitely quantity over quality. And then sometimes I'll just throw my hands up and say, screw it. I'll just watch. There's The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
I watched that the other night.
Yeah,
I've seen it 85 times.
Of course.
But I don't know what else to watch. So if people could, like, almost, I don't know, for lack of a better way of saying it, if people could almost just have better taste, then the studios would know, I guess this stuff won't sell. I guess we need to make stuff that's better.
Yeah. And that's actually funny that you say that, because that's what we've been saying is, no one's challenging them anymore.
Yeah.
No one's challenging them to be better. So they'll pump out mediocre or popcorn film, right? Popcorn movies that you just, Fast and the Furious. How is that movie have 9 different movies?
It's crazy, man.
It's not even about racing anymore. It's about superheroes.
Yeah.
Idris Elba in the movie that came out last time was a literal superhero, or he's a supervillain. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How is that still a thing? And it's huge. They make billions off of that.
Yeah.
And there's 9 of them.
Yeah. I don't even watch them. I don't even watch them. I'm not interested in them. I don't even watch them. I'll be honest. I can't even remember the last time I watched a Marvel movie or a big budget superhero movie. I'm just not.
So no Snyder cut for you?
Yeah. No.
4-hour DC film?
Oh yeah. No. Probably not. No.
Because I mean, we got invited to like the premiere of it. And I can separate that stuff from like what I think is good film, right?
Yeah.
There are movies in the superhero genre or that genre that I consider to be good cinema.
Hmm.
But there's other ones where I'm like, yeah, that one was made for the masses. That's what
Right.
that was.
I love the Nolan films.
Yeah.
The Nolan films are
The
good.
Batman, the Nolan Batmans.
Yes, that's
Okay.
what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. The third one wasn't so hot on, but the first two, yes, loved them.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm down for that.
Cinematography, tones.
Yeah, it just felt like it came from somebody's mind. It was more unique. It's you know, it wasn't just so grandiose. Like it's all coming from the same formula.
Yeah. No, it's funny as you say formula. There's literally the formula for Marvel movies. They have a formula.
Yeah.
We've had the editor from Marvel Studios on. He does not deny that there is a formulaic aspect to making these films. You know, so you're right. A director comes in and is basically a pawn. Not a pawn. I don't want to say that, but the studio is making the movie.
Sure, I know what you mean.
The director is literally the basic function of just putting people in the places. Right. And getting the scenes made, and on to digital, onto the. It's not film anymore.
Yeah, right. I know.
Onto the cloud.
And we could talk about that too more.
Onto the cloud. That's what the director's job at Marvel is. It's not to come up with the film. It's not to change anything. These movies are prevised far before a director actually steps on set.
Oh yeah.
So the full movie is whereas back in the day,
is that wild?
It's so wild. Back in the day, only VFX, only visual effects or sequences that needed to be pre-visualization were previs. Now the whole movie is previs. Your job is to take that previs and turn it into live action.
It's what, and it just blows my mind to even think about that, because all the work that goes into that before, when they previs the whole film, before they even start, production. I mean, I did a little bit of previs, or helped a director at USC. He was a friend of mine. He's a directing student at USC. We did a little previs for a short film he was going to do, his thesis film. And yeah, dude, I mean,
it's tough.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, the money, I mean, the technology, the software, the hardware, just that they have at their disposal to do this sort of thing before they even start on production.
Yeah,
it's wild. I mean,
it's changing.
Who can do something like this? These huge mega corporations.
Yeah.
It's just, it's wild. You made a good point. That just blows my mind.
It's insane. It's insane for the Mandalorian.
Oh my gosh.
For the Mandalorian. I mean, first off, the technology they're using for that is beyond comprehension, right? So every shot in the Mandalorian is made 3 months before a director steps on set to film it. So they've already constructed how things will go. And the previs doesn't look like it used to, where it was like very like block figures moving around. It looks like the characters, and you're like, the movie is basically already done. You just kind of adapt it to, so you're like, okay, this is the shot, guys. All right, Mando, you stand here, and this is what you do. So it's the director's job is becoming different too.
Right.
A director's not in the traditional sense a director anymore. He's just following what the studio wants.
So I can add to that, actually. So before I used to produce my own stuff, and I all I did was act. When I would think of a director, all I really thought about, I would think about it from the perspective of an actor, is that all a director really does, and this is what I thought once upon a time, was just direct the actors and their intentions. And then, especially when I met my film partner, Shaheen Zarkub, I work for his production company. He taught me so much. I mean, started to realize that a director does so much more than just work with the actors. I mean, these people are directing the shots. Everything you see on the screen, I mean, they're directing that to capture what's in their brain. They're compressing what's in their brain down into what we call a movie, and they're telling the cam op what to do, what we're going to be doing, telling the DP what we're going to be doing, and we're going to come down here. We're going to dolly this. We're going to pan over. We're going to come here. And we're going to
Right.
push in real slow. And then he tells the gaffer, no, I need the lighting to look just like this. It's you know what I mean? It's the
Such an
actors
art.
and it's the shots. Dude, it's a gentleman's game, bro. When I met Shaheen Zarkub, he taught me so much, and I haven't even scratched the surface yet. I mean, and he was the one, if I could just say really quick, side note, he was the one who made me never want to use digital ever again.
Yeah.
He bought a super 16 millimeter camera.
Whew.
He taught himself how to use it years ago. And then he just started making his own films.
Yeah.
And then he started to teach me about film, you
So
know, the
delicate.
celluloid and the silver
Yeah.
salts and everything about it. I didn't even think about that before. I don't even want to use digital anymore. And it looks so amazing. And anyway, so when you're doing film, when you're shooting on film, you better know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just watch a take. That's why they have dailies.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just watch a take on your screen, you know. I mean, it's anyway. It's
That's
amazing.
why there's so Tarantino,
yeah.
Nolan, even
Yeah.
Nolan, and then used to be Zack Snyder. Snyder doesn't shoot. He just did his first movie digitally
Mhm.
with Army of the Dead.
Mhm.
But for the longest time, he was only film. He would
Mm.
only work with film.
Mm.
And in Somerville, there's a theater that shows 70 millimeter like film,
Oh, that's
like
cool.
old style chairs, mid film pauses where like a intermission.
Yeah. That's cool.
The whole nine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you can go see, like I went and saw Hateful Eight there
Mm.
from Tarantino,
Mm.
and there was an intermission, and that movie is just so beautifully shot
Oh, yeah.
on 70 millimeter that it's an experience. Films used to be an experience.
Mm.
People would get dressed up and head out to the theater for the night. Now it's, you know, these multiplexes and everything's shot in IMAX, which is great. I love IMAX, but everything like needs to be top of the line, you know, whereas it seems like they're sacrificing something for these
Right.
for these big budget movies. They're sacrificing some piece of movie making.
Okay, so you just made a great point that I'm going to add to really quick. Okay, you're onto something. So actually, I read a book by Joseph Campbell called The Power of Myth, and in that he actually talks.
Journey guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and in that he actually he made a great point that I always knew, but I could feel it. But he explained it, and it was something to the effect of, see, once upon a time when people would go to the movie theater, it was like a cultural temple.
Yeah.
And people would go to it together. And it kind of brought people in the society together. And they would have an experience together. And then they could talk about it together. I mean, even when I was a little kid, I remember when Jurassic 3 came out. It was the biggest film.
Yeah.
And all my friends, I was in elementary school, all of us kids, we were all talking about it. And it was more simple. Things were more simple, and it brought us together. It's almost as if, you know, us just watching things on demand at home with the click of a button, click of a remote, you know, on Netflix or whatever, is taking that away from us and is kind of almost pulling us apart in a way. We're not coming together as much anymore to a temple, if you will, as Joseph Campbell called it.
Right.
And it's kind of just another example of how we're kind of growing a little bit more distant, and we're not together as much as people, which I think is good for us. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
It is, but it's also very important to talk about because and that's actually how we pitched the movie theater. Is we were like, we're kind of sick of, because Warner Brothers and HBO Max, they're doing this thing where for 2020 and 2021 for the pandemic and into 2021, you know, whenever this thing technically ends, or whatever, they're doing, so like Godzilla vs. Kong, Mortal Kombat, Wonder Woman 84, they all debuted in theaters, but also on HBO Max the same day.
Oh my gosh.
So you were giving people the opportunity to stay home or go to the movies. Now, as cool as that is, and as all right, great, we're in a pandemic. But are they ever going to stop now?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Are they going to kill movie theaters?
Yeah.
Okay, now we don't even have to pay the movie theater any money.
You don't even need to leave the couch.
Yeah, we don't have to pay the movie theaters a cut of this film at all. Right?
Oh yeah. Well,
they get nothing. We get everything.
Right.
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 So the game is changing, and it's very scary because you're right. When you go to a film like Jurassic Park, I do remember the third, not my favorite Jurassic Park movie, but yes, when you would go out to the theater, you'd sit in that audience, whether it was full or if it was 10 people, no matter what, you and that 9 other people or that 100 other people, you guys had that one common experience together, right? You enjoyed a 2-hour, 3-hour movie together, and you'll always have that experience. And then it's cool to talk about after, like, oh my God, did you see that? You know, just dissecting anything. Like, you go out with your friends, you go to a movie, and then you guys go out to Chili's after and sit and talk over a couple beers, and you have a good time. I don't know what I would do if that experience didn't exist. Or if it only existed for these movies, right? That'd be tough. That'd be tough. And the world that we're gearing out towards is that instant gratification of it's on Netflix, it's on HBO Max, it's on Disney Plus. No one wants to get in the car, get a babysitter, pay $20 a ticket, $40 for food, and do the actual requirements to go see a movie.
Right.
So, right, it's easier to just stay home and watch it.
Right.
I've heard people say, "Oh, I'll just wait for it to come on streaming."
Yeah, I know.
Boy, you don't even know when that's gonna be,
and they don't even understand what they're missing.
Yeah,
really,
there is something that you're missing.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. These are, and it goes for these movies too. These are larger than life characters, meant to be seen on a larger than life screen. Right. Watch it on your. I don't care how big your TV is. I have almost a 90-inch TV. Right. Yeah. And it does not compare to seeing it in a movie theater.
I know.
It does not compare. Right. I have a 14. I've spent almost over $1,000 on the sound in my living room. Does not compare.
Yeah.
I have Dolby Atmos. So does the theater, but the theater has 45 speakers to my 7. Right. It's just never going to compare unless you're have a theater built into your house, like a legitimate theater.
Right.
And even at that point, I don't care.
Yeah.
Go out and have the human interaction and experience together. So
agree.
yeah, you're right. Something's been missing with these same day releases and straight to video on demand. I don't like it.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. And that's what my film partner and I are trying to bring back. You know, that's that was the point of our first film. You know, which is called American Resolve. You know, we're trying to bring back kind of that pride. You know, that cultural pride that, that kind of bring that back, like what you said, get people interested in kind of auteur cinema again, indie films again, good art. And I'm hoping that things will, return back to normalcy and people will start to go out again and be together and live their lives and meet new people and just, it's good for humans to be around each other.
Yeah.
So
why'd you come back to Boston?
Okay, so there's a few reasons. So
because for the obvious reason, LA is obviously a little bit better for.
For
if you're trying to aspire. Right.
So I spent almost 5 years there. So for like a year and a half before I came back, I was already thinking. This was even before COVID happened. The lockdown happened. I was even thinking about maybe going back home because I didn't. Okay, so long and short of it, I didn't need to be there anymore, really. I'm not pursuing an acting career in the traditional sense anymore. I don't really audition anymore. All I want to do is just produce my own films, right? Produce, direct, star in my own films, or help my film partners to do the same.
Yeah.
And we cast each other, so we're helping each other. I didn't need to be there anymore in that case. All I really needed to do was just continue to make money. And we already have resources. We have our own equipment. We have our own post-production house.
Yeah.
And so we just make our own films. We're gearing up to with what we make off our first film. We're gearing up to shoot our second next year. And so I didn't need to be there anymore. And also with the lockdown in effect, I didn't know what the police were going to do. I didn't know if they were going to lock down California, nobody in, nobody out. I just didn't know what was going to happen. Yeah. So I wanted to go be with my family too. So I didn't need to really be there anymore because all I really do is just produce film now. And I wanted to be with my family. Yeah. So,
Boston's becoming more popular in the sense of movie making and.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right.
People coming here to make movies. It's becoming a good movie town, actually.
Yeah.
Every other month, something's shooting around the area.
Yeah. Yeah. They do
You know,
film.
and I find that to be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as big as Hollywood, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's really nice to see.
Mm.
You know, I've been on set of a couple of films for Netflix, for Warner Brothers. One of them was with the Netflix one was Don't Look Up with I met Leonardo DiCaprio.
No way.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, that was the one that they just recently shot.
Just recently.
Oh,
did.
cool. Oh, no way. That's awesome.
And I actually worked with the news company in Boston, and made a couple contacts through them.
No way.
Yeah,
That's cool.
She brought me back because I didn't have like a press badge
Hmm.
because we're not big enough to have that yet.
Yeah.
She had one, and she was like, "Yeah, just come with me." She's like, "Hold this camera." I was like, "All right."
Very cool.
Yeah, and
Good
she helped her brother out, but that was awesome, man. Like it's cool. It's like adrenaline. It gives you that like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, because I never really pursued film like this.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
But you're right, the art of it. Like you see the cameras rolling and panning and moving on these cool like sliders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were just shooting one scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it was 8 hours. 8 hours for that one sequence.
Yep.
Right. It's like, dude, so much goes into making these movies.
So much.
So much.
People do not even know, man. Oh, man. I mean, when I got on the other side of the camera and I started producing my own stuff, whoa, it humbled me.
So much different.
Dude,
so
filmmaking, man, so much goes into it. It is nuts. Yeah. And it's like one of my film partners used to tell me back in LA, he said, you know, filmmaking is like it's a puzzle, you know, I mean, some things, I guess, if you have to, if you're on a tight budget, some things you want to invest more money in than others. Sound, for instance, cannot be forgiven.
Yes.
You must have good sound,
yes.
right? The continuity's off every so often, you know, whatever. But you know, it's like everything. It's a puzzle. Every piece is very important, and you get a great film, and every piece of the puzzle it fits just the way it should, and it takes a lot of planning. And
I always wondered, how they did the sound stuff. How they do it so that like if you're outside, you don't get that.
Oh yeah, right.
The wind.
Sure, there's all sorts of.
If you start recording on your phone, out in Boston Common, all you can hear is the even if it's a nice day out, all you can hear that subtle wind in the background. Yes.
So they have multiple sound sources. I guess I don't know if you would call it redundancy. I suppose I don't know if that's the right word, but they have multiple channels or sources for sound for security. So you know of course you have the boom mic is what they hold over the people or over the actors, and then of course they have the fuzzy sleeve. That's for wind. That protects against wind.
So like these, but on a bigger scale. Like
exactly.
Windscreens, yeah.
Exactly. Well, yeah. So it would be this, and then they would put a fuzzy sleeve over it, and
kind of looks like a ball of fur.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
Right, and then they have labs that they put on the chest.
I've never seen it. So they hide them so well,
and you won't see them if the soundy knows what he's doing. You won't see them, and the sound will be great.
Yeah. I always was impressed with sound, like because you just turn the camera on outside. There's so many natural elements to the outdoors, and like if you're not in a controlled environment, there's so many variables. And of course, like in film, like sometimes you'll catch something that shouldn't have been there, like a plane flying over in Troy. Right.
Yeah. I remember seeing that in the magazine.
There'll be like little errors that happen, like whether it's sound or visual, and it's funny. But it also kind of like takes away. Yeah. Oh, it does take away from like the because when you're watching a movie, like you almost get lost in it.
Right.
And you're in that time period. For instance, I don't know if did you watch Game of Thrones?
No. Never
there was a Starbucks cup.
No way. Are you serious?
And the internet lost its mind.
That's so
funny. It was
like,
come on, it was an honest mistake.
Yeah.
Because like in a sequence where there's like mugs, like old school mugs, and just Game of Thrones is set in like not 21st century. This world.
Oh,
it's like it's almost like a Viking era.
Oh yeah.
And just in another dimension. Yeah. And there was like a Starbucks cup in the scene.
That's so funny.
People lost their minds.
Yeah.
Because it took them out of the story.
So if I could just make a point really quick, that's why I always say at least from I always say this, from a technical filmmaking standpoint, that's why I believe that drama sometimes can be much harder than comedy.
Okay.
You're not going to hear many people say that from a technical filmmaking standpoint, because it's so much easier for people not to take you seriously than it is for people to take you seriously.
True.
If you see a comedy that has, wishy-washy production value, but it's really funny and goofy, people forgive it. It's like, well, yeah, it's a comedy. We're not supposed to take it that seriously, so long as it's funny.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a little grainy and the sound's a little shitty. Oh, dude, this dude reminds me of Jim Carrey. He's hilarious, you know? But if you're watching a film that needs to be taken seriously, have you ever seen a drama that's not made very well? The acting's not very good. The production value is a little bit crappy. And it's like, I really can't take it seriously. I know they're trying to be serious.
Yeah.
There's
actually, so funny that you just brought that up, because there's this, so I was on Netflix the other night, because I'm guilty of it. I'm not going to say I'm not.
There's no judgment, dude. Me too. I go on Netflix.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and you know how like now especially they'll hit you with like previews of things, like right when the app opens, there's like, watch this now. It's number 3 in the United States.
Yep.
It was something called Manifest.
Okay.
And the idea of it is pretty cool. It's kind of like a Lost thing, but these people are on a jet line. And 150 souls on board, and they go through. We don't know what happens, but all of a sudden, like lightning hits them.
Okay.
And 5 years passes.
Yes, I did see that.
And then they land.
Yeah.
To them, it's been 2 hours.
Yes.
To the rest of the world, it's been 5 years.
I saw.
It was so corny.
Yeah.
It was so bad. I'm sitting there. I couldn't even make it to the first episode because it was so corny.
Yeah.
And I was like, the idea is cool. You're right, though. I was taken out by the B quality of it.
Yes.
So
yes,
it was just
every so often when I'd go to a film festival or something, I'd see a film, like short film, that was made by students or whatever, and it was trying to be dramatic, but they just didn't have the biggest budget, and I don't blame them, And I've been there. I still don't have the biggest budget to play with right now, and it's a dramatic film, and you're just like it just takes you out, because it's well, it could be cheesy. It could be, I'll just say it could be really cheesy if all the pieces of the puzzle aren't there. So
and it really does take you out, and but I like what you said about comedies, because you can get away with that with comedy.
Well, yeah. So like I mean,
scary movie.
The first film we ever did, I did it with my friend Kelsey out in LA, and she and I and some friends produced our first short film, and it was 7 minutes long, and we were doing it for a contest for a Facebook radio station, and we all it wasn't just me, we all came up with it, we all wrote it, right. The writing was so good, and we just came up with good ideas and really clever. I was working with such clever people. One of them was a stand-up, Kelsey. She was phenomenal. Her name is Kelsey Lane, one of the funniest people I've ever met. Shout out to Kelsey Lane. I think she's still out there in Los Angeles. She's a stand-up. She's great. She actually makes money at it, I think. So that's impressive.
Like the oh god, what's the Joe Rogan Comedy Club?
Oh, well, the Comedy Cellar. Not the Comedy Cellar, the Comedy Store. Sorry, I'm thinking of with Louis C.K. and Louis in New York. And on the Sunset Strip. Yeah.
I've always wanted to go there.
It's cool.
I've always
wanted
to go
place.
There. I mean, that's where people. I mean, as far as stand-up goes, that's
dude, that's it.
That's
the place, bro.
That's the place,
yeah, that's the place. But yeah,
Mitzi Shore.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they owned that place.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if they still do, but like
I think
Pauly Shore's mother, Pauly Shore's family owned the Comedy Store.
Yes.
And I found that to be wild.
Yep.
And a lot of comedians know. That's the place to be.
That's the place, man.
If you can become a regular there, a paid regular. You're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're at least going to be making money. And, comedians, man, it's dog eat dog world out there, but they have their own community of people, like they love each other.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, in my experience, so I messed around with stand up,
it's hard.
A number of years ago, just for fun. Yeah. And I just used to, mess around with open mics, and I mean, once you make it, well, not necessarily make it, but you're you're working and you're with other professional comics, I think that there's got to be a community, where they care about each other. It's a little bit different when you're in the open mics, they can be a little bit bitter towards each other.
Yeah.
The comics like each other.
Yeah, because you're trying to be the next person.
Right. And if you're funny, they're not always even going to laugh at you because they don't want to laugh at you. But yeah, man.
Joe's talked about that a million times.
I'm sure he has.
About how he used to be. Like, he would hope people bombed.
He said that? He used to hope?
He used to hope that people would
so
just bomb on stage.
Wow.
And he would, but he's like, now I want to bring people up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's like, I was just so cynical. Like, open mic is like literal dog-eat-dog world.
So in my personal opinion, this is just my opinion, stand-up comedy is the hardest thing to do and to get into in entertainment, period.
Really?
I think it's harder than everything.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything harder to get into and to make it at. I think it's so hard. It's just my personal, when I say so hard, I just mean just in general for anybody. That is the hard, you got to really love it, man.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, bro.
Especially nowadays where people take things so offensively.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't imagine being a comedian right
I
now.
couldn't. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I was, like I said, I was messing around with it for fun on the side when I was in LA in 2016. And I, every so often I make a few jokes and it was just like, oh shoot, I think I just offended some people when I said
You always
that.
offend somebody.
I know, but
always.
Yeah,
someone's always going to be butthurt about it. It's like, why do you even come to these shows? You're going to get offended.
Because they want to complain. They want a virtue signal. I don't know,
It's so terrible.
It is. I agree. But I think it's
not the place for that.
No, it's not, dude. That's what makes it funny, dude. It's touchy. It's offensive. It's raunchy. It's,
edge.
It is. Yeah.
So I feel bad for guys like Rogan, like Louis C.K. I know he's had his issues with other things, but he apologized, and I'll give everyone one chance to apologize.
Sure.
If you admit you're wrong and you move on, you do it again. All right.
Yeah.
Unlike Bill Cosby, Bill Cosby can't be forgiven.
Well, that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I mean, technically with Louis C.K. it was consensual.
Yes. Yeah. So he admitted that he was wrong, and you know what? I respect that. And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But people like Bill Cosby and them, I just Kevin Spacey, I can't do it.
Oh man, yeah, that's
Kevin Spacey's coming back, right?
Wow.
Someone hired him for some director hired him for. It's like kind of like an indie film, but I feel like it's not going to go over well.
Yeah,
because he is not. I was so shocked by that one. That one really threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he's
Kevin Spacey.
Well, he's Kevin Spacey. Dude. He's Hollywood royalty. I mean, I guess
after Bill Cosby, no one surprised me after that. I suppose because that's America's Dad.
I know.
That was literally America's Dad. Speaking of comedy, he used to tell young comics that they couldn't do dirty acts because they would never make it.
Yes.
He used to belittle people.
My grandfather used to tell me that. Yes.
Yeah. And he'd be like, no, you have to do, your act has to be clean.
Yeah.
And respectable.
I heard this is just what I heard. Actually, I think my grandfather told me this once, that Bill Cosby used to really, I think, critique or come down on, what's his name? I'm spacing on his name. Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, no,
because 100%. Eddie Murphy swore and he was raunchy.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right,
dude.
And look where Eddie Murphy is considered one of the
Dude,
greatest.
he is one of the funniest people ever, dude.
One of the.
I love that guy.
When he was in the red jumpsuit, that.
Oh
special,
my gosh, almighty! He was so funny, dude.
But
he was so good.
Yeah, and then, I mean, comedy, man. It's a crazy world.
It is, yeah.
Then you got stuff like. You get stuff like Carlos Mencia, who made it so big but was stealing people's jokes.
I heard that.
Robin Williams is known for that too, stealing people's jokes.
Yeah, I did not.
Whether he knew it or not was different.
Oh, okay.
Because a lot of people say that Robin Williams used to come to like places like the Comedy Store, sit there and have a good time, enjoy it, but maybe recycle some of the jokes on stage
in like a different form.
And people. Like someone will be watching, like, wait, didn't I do that joke to you? Did I make that up? And like, no one can really tell if Robin knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
because he was severely
Yeah.
He struggled mentally for a long time.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't. He got away with a lot of it. You know,
Mhm.
people were like, "All right, what's Robin Williams? He's using my joke. All right, I guess
Yeah.
that's cool."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Carlos Mencia literally built his reputation and was selling out stadiums and going to the Comedy Store and stealing people's jokes. And then there's that famous video of Joe Rogan getting on stage and calling him out in front of the whole Comedy Store. And then Carlos Mencia was never seen again.
No way. Is that how it went
He's
down?
not even Spanish. He's not. You know, what is his real name? It's not Mencia.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
let me
wouldn't
look it
know.
up because Carlos Mencia is not Spanish, and there was another thing, like something else that like you would be like, what?
No way.
Yeah, he's dirty, dude.
See, that's not even. So my first question with all of that is not even how did he get away with it for so long? I mean, that is a question I have. But the second thing is
Ned Arnell.
Oh wow,
is
yeah,
Carlos
that's a
Mencia's
little
real
bit
name.
different.
Ned Holness.
Oh yeah.
But still, yeah. Okay, so Ned Arnell,
How do you?
known professionally as Carlos Mencia,
Oh yeah.
is Honduran.
Oh okay.
Honduran born American comedian.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was selling out selling stadiums out. And he was ripping people off.
How do you do that? See, my first question is, how do you just do that and not, first of all, be afraid that you're going to fall one day? That's such a dishonorable thing. How do you do it? How do you do it and sleep at night? I would be nervous. Even if I was the kind of person who would do something like that, I'd be like, so when am I going to get caught? How is this even going to happen? How is this going to work?
Yeah, he was compulsive. Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh man, that's so weird.
He like believed that he wasn't doing anything wrong, because in a lot of the interviews that you see post Joe Rogan calling him out,
yeah,
the video is crazy. The video of Joe Rogan calling him out is crazy because Carlos tail between right his love. But
yeah,
not only can Joe Rogan kick your ass, excuse my language.
Yeah,
Joe, like if Carlos was like stepped up to him, Joe Rogan would put him down.
Yeah,
and he was calling him out in front of the whole Comedy Store because people like open micers who were actually good, Carlos would take their material and bring it to stadiums, and that open micer now looks like he's copying.
Oh,
Carlos
so he did it
Mencia.
from people who weren't very big yet.
Yeah, but also from people that were big. But like,
see, now how would he expect to get away with it?
Yeah,
I
because
don't
they'd
understand.
be like working material out, because comedians famously like they'll go to smaller clubs and work out their material for their next special.
Right. Yeah.
And that's when Mencia would steal it. It was a wild story. There's a documentary about it, and it's like that's the world. That's like Hollywood. For anyone who doesn't know, like Hollywood is it's a very like dog eat dog world out there.
Oh,
and, everyone's out for themselves.
Sure.
And it's, you know, if you got something good, people want that.
Yeah, man.
Like people do whatever to copy it or replicate it in some way. And I know they say what was that saying? Is the sincerest form of flattery?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I don't know it, but I've heard it before.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah.
No, but stealing,
yeah,
not so much. Not so much.
Yeah.
Right. So Carlos Mencia, I know you never hear this, but you're a dirty person. And you're sick. But
geez.
comedy's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Comedy's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I mean, we're almost wrapped up here.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have you back plenty of times for this show.
Yeah, totally. If I may, really quick, I just wanted to just tell people where they can go just to check our film out.
Oh yeah. I usually give. Yeah. So you know.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
That's
Whatever.
a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let me get through.
Totally.
The end first, and then I usually let the last 5-6 minutes do what you need to do.
Absolutely.
But as we appreciate everyone that tuned in for this. We've been having a little trouble with Apple Podcasts. Our show wasn't updating on Apple Podcasts, which subsequently stopped our show from airing on 6 different platforms because they use the RSS feed from Apple directly. So this is our first one back. This is our first show back, doing it podcast style. And I really appreciate everyone. If you could go to the new Apple Podcast link, it's in the description below, and rate our show. We lost all of our ratings, all of our reviews, and all of our plays and subscriptions due to this like malfunction at Apple when they transition softwares. We're not the only ones, but if you guys could do that for us, that'd be great. We really, really do appreciate it. Yeah, you can become a member of our show by clicking join below. Make sure you subscribe if it's your first time here, if you're watching on YouTube. And yeah, guys, we do it for you. We do it for the culture. I love you. You know that. So why don't you tell us where people can find you, where they can see anything that you've made, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So
we'll have you back too, but
this time, dude, yeah. I would love it. I would love that. Yeah. So our first feature film that we've completed, it's called American Resolve. It is just about 3 young men who are living in Los Angeles, and they're sick and tired of the PC culture that pervades and is so pervasive. And so they're so sick of it and so many other things, and just how disingenuous everybody is. Everybody's walking on eggshells, that they recluse from society and they kind of just form their own tribe and they hang out with each other, and that's it. They're very cynical. They're sick and tired of the bull. So, and then one day a UCLA journalist student stumbles upon them, finds them interesting, and wants to interview them to see each of them to see what their opinion on the current state of their culture is.
Okay.
And they're very, they are skeptical of him at first because they don't want him to take their names and then besmirch them, ruin their reputation, cancel them, ruin their name, you know? And then, but finally, we end up opening up to him, and we realize that he's a good guy. And we end up talking to him, and the film kind of just talks about how we should be free to share what's on our mind, and that, we need to be talking and having discourse, and that people shouldn't be judged at their worst moment. People shouldn't be judged. Just because you have a bad thought doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, and we need to quit this stupid game that we're playing, and we need to be real with each other.
So it very much resembles what's going on today.
Oh, without a doubt. It was made, the director was inspired to write this because of his disgust of what is going on today.
Yeah.
So, it's eye-opening. It's cool. It's a cool little flick. You can go to outgroupfilms.com. That's the name of our production company, Outgroup Films. You go to outgroupfilms.com. On there, you'll see a little thumbnail of 3 of us leaning up against the railing. You can click on that to check out the trailer, and then below there are buttons to click on for to rent or to buy. To rent, it's $3.99. To buy it, it's $6.99. And there's more to come from Outgroup Films.
All right, so
without a doubt,
it's outgroupfilms.com.
Yep.
And then so follow that. It'll direct you.
It's just a website, and then you'll see. So you just go down, you'll see kind of the video where you can watch the trailer.
Yeah.
And then below that, it's just a rent or a buy button.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty self.
Just put in your info and takes you.
All right, guys. So man. Outgroupfilms.com. Follow the directions, and you can follow Bobby Burrelli from Boston on Instagram.
Yeah.
If you search Bobby Burrelli in the tab there.
I just have one more thing to say really quick. Man. It's actually kind of cool. We were the only indie film that was shooting in LA during the lockdown. So when you see the background, you're going to see LA kind of the way it was in like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It was very empty. It was very chill. It was really cool looking. We were the only ones shooting during the lockdown.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'll rent it.
Yeah. It's kind of cool. It's just,
buy it.
We'll never see LA like that ever again. Yeah. It was really kind of cool. So
kind of captures that essence of how it felt out there, and it will always be captured through that. And hopefully we never have to go through this again. But I don't doubt that we do it again. Maybe in the future, because that's just the way life goes.
Yeah.
Right.
I know. Let's hope for the best.
Yeah. And so we'll definitely have you back, man.
Cool.
I would love to have Justice here, and or bring one of the guys remotely in.
Yeah.
And have you here. Those conversations are really fun.
Hell yeah.
And
absolutely.
And so we'll do it again soon. All right, guys, you guys have been amazing. As always, we do a lot and we pay a lot for all these equipments. So we could use some support. You can join, like I said, by hitting join below, or you can send super chats or super stickers for anywhere from like $1 to $100. Don't go spending $100. unless you really, really want to. But yeah, so to increase and keep increasing production value, you know, we could use your support. We do this for you, and we do it for the culture. We really appreciate having you guys. And Bobby, we'll have you back very soon. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you
right,
for
man.
having me.
All right.
Cool.